Whittaker Weekly is a 3-episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades-old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't. I'm Andrew.
I'm Lee.
And this is Whittaker Weekly. Let's get right to it, you guys. A little bit of news that came out today. Well, I learned about it today. Don't know if it came out today, but Netflix has announced that they are doing a new Ghost in the Shell, let me say that properly, standalone complex season. So this should be season 3. It's called Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045. They released a teaser trailer for it. It's just a Motoko stepping out of a car. Motono Kusanagi, the major. It's CG, which is hesitant. It's hesitant. And I understand why. We've had a lot of bad experiences as anime fans with CGI only shows, but the trailer is pretty good quality CGI. So I've got high hopes that this will be good. Anyways, we'll have a link for you guys to go ahead and see it, or you can look it up on YouTube and watch it yourself. It's just a pretty short, 30-second teaser. I don't even remember if there was a release date on it, but it is in production, and it's Production IG, the same company that's always done Ghost in the Shell. So they know what they're doing.
I think it mentioned that it was it's going to be a Netflix release.
Yes, Netflix is doing it. Mm-hmm.
So the question is whether or not they're going to try to do, weekly. Like Netflix has started doing certain shows on a weekly updated basis.
Oh, they have.
But most of their shows, almost all of their content, there's one or two things that I happen to noticed, but most of their content seems to be binge watched. Entire half seasons released at a time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did with Voltron. At least is that. It used to be entire seasons at a time, but then they started doing half seasons at a time, which I think helped drive up the toy market. Is why they did that as well. Keep people coming back to watch more by releasing a little bit at a time, but not the single episode a week model. Well, I know that Netflix has been doing a handful of, they've been trying to do serial content like talk shows, but nobody goes to Netflix for a talk show. People go to Netflix to binge watch their favorite old classics. And now Netflix has become the production company for new classics. So I'd put money on that they're going to probably do small seasons at a time, something kind of like what they did with Castlevania.
Well, they did the 4 episodes for Castlevania, and then after that, it took a couple of years for them to do season 2, which was a full 12 episodes.
Right.
But anyways, let's go ahead and get right into it. That's really the only. Was there any news that you wanted to go ahead and cover before we start talking about the show?
Nothing I noticed.
Okay. Well, this week for 3 episodes in, I picked again with the theme of Halloween this month. I picked a kind of Halloweenish comedy called Dusk, Maiden of Amnesia. So, and this show revolves around a first-year high school student, Teichi Nia, who has just enrolled in Seikyo Private Academy. One day, while wandering the hollowed halls, he gets lost in one of the school's old buildings and encounters Yuko Kanoe, who reveals herself as a ghost with no memories. While investigating her death by looking through the school's 7 mysteries, they discover the truth about these ghost stories and help those who are troubled. And we're going to go ahead and start posting the links about where you guys can go ahead and watch it. And YouTube will have the links down in the description. On our website, we'll just have links there as well, depending on where you watch us. But you can watch this on Crunchyroll, VRV, or High Dive. Those are the 3 places that we found that you can go ahead and stream it on. Anyways, let's dive right into this. So episode 1 starts off with Momoe, a little blonde girl. I think she's 14 or 15. She calls to order.
She's in a rundown room
Yeah.
with a bright pink notebook, and so
And she
it has a
calls to
very
order the
distinctive.
meeting of the club.
It's a very distinctive clashing of styles. Like she really doesn't seem to fit in with the the aesthetic of the room that she's in. And yeah, there's a sign on the door that says the Paranormal Occult Investigation Club or something. The Paranormal Events
New
Investigation.
members welcome.
New members seeking out new members. And then when you go into the room, there's a section of what looks like either it's a boarded up wall or a cardboard or a crate or something, and it says, "Do not open unless you want to be cursed."
Yeah, it's a boarded up wall.
Turns out that is what it is.
Yeah.
But
well, that's what I noticed that when I first saw it. But I didn't. Later on, it's revealed that they have to pry it up with a crowbar. I thought it was just a piece of wood that they had put over it because it looked pretty shoddy with the rest of the room. So, but anyways,
I thought maybe it was at first glance. I thought it was like a box, like what you'd see in, what was it called? Raiders of the Lost Ark, like the archive of lost things at the end of the of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I thought it may have been a crate, and we weren't seeing all of it.
Gotcha.
Because there was some storage going on in the room when I first saw it. So I thought maybe there was a crate in the back of the room that says, "Do not open if you don't want to be cursed."
Yeah, there's but anyways, the room is in shambles, and she's sitting there, and she's talking to herself, recording the minutes of this meeting. And while she's in there, her little keychain animal just gets picked up, and by nothing, and then it gets put back down. And
what happens is she draws. She's taking the notes with her pencil, and the tip.
Oh, that's right. The tip of the pencil breaks,
and then this keychain gets up and kicks the tip off the side of the table.
And then the keychain, the little toy on her keychain, the little doll on the keychain gets up and kind of waves in front of her face, to which she doesn't notice. And this entire time she's recording, paranormal rumors throughout that she's heard in her notebook. But then she takes a drink out of her tea, and then she sets it down and goes back to her notebook, and then the tea suddenly gets raised up and it gets moved as if somebody just took a drink out of it, goes back down, and then
it's from the other. So the setup of the room is there's a table in the middle and two couches on either side, and it would appear that the ghost on the other side of the table from her reached over, grabbed a cup, and took the sip, and so now the cup is sitting on the far side of the table where it's hard for her to have reached it. And then when she notices that she goes down to reach it again, and it's not where she would have, her hand's grasping at air. Like, where is it? And she sees it on the other side of the table, like, did the cup move on its own? No, I'm imagining things.
I'm just tired. I'm just tired from lack of sleep. I'm just imagining things. Anyways, they
didn't even move that far. How could you have moved it to there?
Exactly. Right. So anyways, and then like she has a stack of papers, and I forget exactly what she's talking about. Again, it's the ghostly rumors or whatever. And she's about to put the papers down, but as soon as she lets go, the papers stay there in the air and get picked back up, and then whoever's holding them is flipping through the pages,
Yeah. And is walking around with the pages because as she's looking up and as Momoe is looking up and talking out loud to herself about the things that she's read, things that she's seen, her head happens to be in the opposite direction of the papers floating in midair.
Yeah.
As this person is pacing with the papers back and forth.
Yeah. Anyways, she while that happens, and I just thought to myself, for being a member of the Paranormal Activity Club, she's really bad at noticing a ghost messing with her.
Yeah, just all clues right over her head. Like, oh, you sweet summer child. Well, and so then we're introduced to the main guy. You mentioned his name, Nia. Nia comes in through the just before he comes in, um, it's at that moment that she actually does finally see, like, the ghost gets frustrated and so it started with the keychain, then the cup, then the papers, and then the keychain again. And the keychain's just like literally waving in front of her face, trying to get her attention, and it's just not working. And
Mm-hmm.
so she gives up and drops the keychain, and the
Yeah.
sound of the keychain hitting the table is what really sets her off as something paranormal is happening here. And it's at that moment when Nia walks in and she starts screaming to him like something weird is happening here, and I think there's a ghost and we're being haunted. And
He's like, "What?
well,
No, there's no ghost here. It's fine." But
there are no evil ghosts here. He's trying to be his absolute most honest in that particular exchange. Like, yes, the
mhm,
ghost isn't evil. There are no evil ghosts here.
mhm,
While trying
mhm,
to comfort her. Meanwhile, he's seems to be somewhat distracted
mhm.
as she'll ask him a question and
Well,
he'll seem to answer something different and
mhm.
not be looking directly at her.
Before he shows up, though, we should probably point out that Momoe, Momoe is just like, it's. I guess it's no good if Nia's not here. I mean, I just don't have the abilities that he does to interact with the spirit world. I
Yeah.
mean, he's just so. I mean, he's just so smart and cool and handsome. And that's when the things goes. The little doll goes up in front of her, and she doesn't see it. Um, but and then Nia comes in, and she's asking Nia questions. Well, she's trying to ask him questions, but she ends up just thinking the questions to herself. And he responds, and every time he responds, it's in a way that makes her think that not only is he connected to the spirit realm, he can read minds because his response is always perfectly a perfect response to what she is thinking. I didn't write down anything of what she said, but it was just really, really silly.
Like,
And it's obvious to the viewer that he is talking to someone, and it's not her.
yes. But and while that's going on, something else she's not noticing is for a moment his hair goes up into cat ears because a ghost is playing with him. And he's like, cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
and and then the ghost lifts up her hair without her noticing it, and he puts a hand on her head, says, "There, just stop it."
He's like, just stop that. And she's like, oh, okay. And it's like she was on the verge of confessing to him when he patted her on the head and said, just stop it, which kind of, crushed her hopes a little bit. Um, but anyways,
He's like, if he can read my mind, does he know how I feel about him?
uh-huh.
Oh
Of,
no.
of
Well,
course I
well,
do. Huh?
well, then, if you can read my mind, she thinks really hard. What is the capital of Nigeria or something?
I think
Something,
it's Macedonia, something like that. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and
Something
then goes,
nuts.
and he just looks at her, and he just smiles and goes, "I don't know.
I have no idea.
I have no idea." Is what he says.
And she's like, "Oh, you can't. Oh, of
You
course. I
can't
mean,
read
maybe I
my
should have
mind.
thought of an easier question."
Yeah. And so she's racking her brain, and he has no idea what's going on in her head
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever.
None whatsoever, because he's completely distracted. Anyways,
And then we're
after
introduced to a third person.
a third person who, by the name of Kyrie.
Yeah, yes.
Kyrie, she comes in and she's kind of an older, cool type person, and she comes in and she immediately starts interacting with them as another member of this club.
Well,
And
she walks in and says, "I see you're wasting time again,"
mhm,
in some sort of crass way of saying it. And immediately, Momoe thinks she's talking to her.
uh-huh. And
But
she's super sorry. And she's like, "I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't waste any time like this. I'm so sorry."
and so she's taking it all personally and trying to be her best self. And it's at that point that Kyrie's seriously, like, I'm I don't mean you. I'm talking to him. And she tries to give her a comforting smile
Mm,
when the ghost pulls her face into this distorted. It's hilarious. It pulls
it's
her face into this
great.
distorted, uh, awful expression as she's trying to be sincere and genteel with this this person. It's like, why would she make that face? Because it's not 100% clear that it's the ghost doing it, or if she was making that face herself at that moment. But it becomes clear later. Because the entire scene that we see here between all of them interacting is replayed. So back in episode 45, we reviewed a show called My Roommate is a Cat, and every episode had a sequence.
Was that really episode 45?
That was 45. I looked it up.
That feels like just a couple months ago.
That was
Wow.
March. That was March of
That
this
was
year.
March?
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway.
Yeah. So, no, and the premise for My Roommate is a Cat is that we would do, the first half of the episode would be from the human's point of view, and the second half of the episode would be the same events from the cat's point of view. Well, they did kind of the same thing here, where the point of view is what it's like not seeing the ghost, and then what it's like actually seeing the ghost.
And we see this ghost, who's a beautiful young woman. I think she's 17.
Yeah, she seems to be the ideal princess archetype. She's got the long black hair with cut bangs and a beautiful frame and figure and mysterious face. She seems like the same beautiful, whatever archetype that Rei Hino from Sailor Moon is based off of, or Psycho from High School of the Dead. Whatever character arc, whatever visual archetype that is, she has that. That's her as well.
But anyways, we now see the previous events of Momoe writing down the notes. And at first I thought it was I thought the episode was skipping or something. But then I noticed, oh no, we can actually see Yuko now. Yes. And she's sitting there, and she immediately, like, she's kind of laying on the couch, obviously waiting for Nia, because Nia is really the only one who can interact with her. So when the pencil breaks off and the lead comes over and hits her, it actually hits her. She then picks it up and flicks it at the little toy, starts playing with the toy, and when we see her, we see the exact same scene as before, only this time we now see Yuko being the one messing with her.
Yes. And it occurs to me, actually, from a technical standpoint, that it's actually pretty easy to do both scenes with limited animation because of the way that you have to layer in, like, somebody to animate this character and somebody animated that character, and you have to layer it all in and composite it in an animation. So you just omit that person's audio track and image track and just play the scene twice, as it were. And just to get a different feel for it.
We did forget to mention that as they start the meeting, they're like, "Wait, where's the president? Is the president not here again?"
That's right.
He then gets nervous. He's like, "Oh, wait, my cell phone!" And he pulls it out and just like, yes, hello. Oh no, you're always playing. You need to stop doing that. Yeah, the president's not going to be here because she has a cold, type thing.
Yes, she's like a ghost president. She's never here. The club president is rarely here. She's like a ghost president. It's an actual line in the show.
She's like a ghost president.
I absolutely love that Yuko is the president of this club. The ghost is the president of the ghost club. Ghost Hunters Club. It's fantastic. But yeah, every single thing happens. We find out that Yuko is a bit of a enjoys flaunting her femininity around the one boy in the world who can see her.
Well, and I think it's fairly easy to see throughout the course of this episode that the two of them do have feelings for each other.
They do.
But yeah, she definitely enjoys being openly flirtatious with him, especially since no one else can see it. Well, and we do learn, and Kirie, so throughout all the course of this, when Kirie finally shows up, and she starts saying, are you wasting time again? That question can very easily be addressed to Momoe, but at the same time, it could very easily be addressed to Yuko.
Yes.
And everything she says and does can be taken either way. And I was just like, that's really kind of smart writing, because it's not letting us know if she can see Yuko or not. Later on, we learned that yes, she can.
Yes.
But I just thought, I wonder if she could see Yuko.
Mhm.
But we don't know if she can physically interact with her. We
Well,
just know that
I seem to
she can
recall
see her.
it was I can't remember if it was later in the scene or as she was walking in that Yuko was like, "Hey, check it out, Hey, check it out, Nia. I'm wearing a bra today. What do you think?" As she's opening up her shirt to
Oh
show
yeah,
off a big cross strap.
I'm wearing a cute bra today. What do you think? Yeah, uh-huh.
And so this boy sitting there around other people trying not to react. And that's what and I'm pretty sure that's what Kyrie is reacting to. Like, you're just wasting time again, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, it's at that point that Momoe brings up an urban legend about a dumbwaiter that was installed in the school. The school has 4 stories, and a dumbwaiter was installed to lift food up and down the different floors so they could distribute it around a mechanical dumbwaiter, not just a pulley system, but an
Mm-hmm.
actual functional
Oh yeah.
tiny elevator.
This is another scene that's shown from both perspectives,
Yeah,
we should say. Yeah.
so the cut didn't happen until after a moment in this scene, which is as she's relating the details about this haunted dumbwaiter, which had accidentally decapitated one student and is hardly ever used. It suddenly comes to life and starts moving all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And she's and so Momoe grips Nia Nia's arm very, very tightly, like a little too intimately, and so she's just terrified. She's glaring at she's wide-eyed staring at the elevator, and he's just sort of like looking down at her, going, "You're very close to me. You are very close to me right now."
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly we get a glimpse. The first time we get a glimpse of this transparent figure of a ghost, and suddenly, in the bloodiest scene in this show so far,
He gets kicked by the ghost,
in the back,
slams into the wall.
his head hits the top frame of the in this huge blood splatter. It hits the top frame of the dumbwaiter, and then he's in the dumbwaiter with a bandage over his head already. So while the big blood spray is there, it's immediately uh
Mm-hmm.
covered. It's immediately covered right after,
Mm-hmm.
and,
But
and
he,
then it closes on him, and that's when it cuts back to the other scene. And then we see all those events unfold with Yuko there, and Yuko did not like Momoe getting so close to
she is
the
like, a lot of what happens is also because a lot of her teasing her in the room is because she's not happy with this girl inching in on her Ania, and yeah, again, and Yuko or and Momoe and Nia, they like, you now see the 4 of them watching the dumb waiter come up after seeing Yuko being the one to activate it.
yeah, yeah.
And like,
2 members
she's
see the ghost
staring.
push the button. The third
Yeah, she
member,
pushes the button to pull up to call it up, and now Yuko is staring daggers at Momoe, um, for using this as an opportunity to hang on Nia. So, anyways, so he then, and from this point of view, we see that both Nia and Yuko, or Nia and Yuko, are both in the dumbwaiter now. And there's a conversation that happens back and forth, and the conversation becomes flirtatious between the 2 of them. And she's like, I can't help but getting jealous because you're literally the only person that I can touch. And I like it when you touch me. It's been so long since I felt human touch. And he says, well, I like touching you too. And he reaches up to touch her. And this is one of the things that may be a bit more perturbing to some of our more sensitive viewers. He grabs her breast a lot in this show,
he does.
usually for humorous effect.
Now, in this particular sequence, there's a lot of shadow, and it's played for the effect of they are in a cramped space going down an elevator, so we see kind of the passage of frames going up through the um up through the screen. Um, and so there's a lot of shadow and a lot of darkness. And for a moment, he's caressing her face.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot of her caressing her face, of him caressing her face.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
he's
so,
reaching for her face.
so that's what he's
So
trying to do. It's indicated that's what he's trying to do this time.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, every other time it's an accident, and they
Yes.
play it off as an accident, and she's not.
Every once in a while, I think
Mm-hmm.
she puts herself in a position so that she sees his hand reaching out and she makes it happen.
Yeah, probably. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all.
So,
But so they're on the floor. They're like, just as he, says, "I like touching you too." That's when the dumbwaiter stops, and they're on the first floor. And the girls ran after him, and ended up on the first floor before the dumbwaiter did.
right. Somehow. And the door opens and
Dumbwaiters aren't very fast,
no, no, they're not.
especially this old one that hasn't been used in a while.
And so the rumor is that a ghost, well, part of the story is that a ghost has been haunting this dumbwaiter and causing kids to disappear and be teleported to another world of misery and suffering. Because that's what the ghost wants, to kidnap people. Um, well, the door opens and there he is, hand on her breast, in a compromising position,
Mm-hmm.
when Momoe, who doesn't see the ghost, sees that he bravely faced the situation and must have exorcised the ghost because he's safe and okay. What was it like? Was it heaven? Was it hell? A little bit of both.
It was. What was it like? I went to both heaven and hell.
and so and so we're the first episode is really a really good character introduction for all four of them as who they are as people. But episode two is where it actually becomes episode two starts with the origin story. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we episode two is about how um how Nia and Yuko meet, and then
Mm-hmm.
how the club is formed and how Momoe ends up joining them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now the ending credits, the ending of episode one is the opening for the rest of the season. Um, so it follows that tradition, and I remember being blown away by the vocalization in episode one. So I actually looked it up. I looked up who did the voice work, the singing in the opening song.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it's a performer by the name of Suzuki Konomi, who also did the openings for No Game No Life, Watamoe, and ReZero.
Cool. That's
And
quite the
so,
list.
yeah, I haven't actually watched Watamoe, but I've watched all of the others. So, but she has quite an extensive catalog herself. In fact, I have her Wikipedia page pulled up here, and something that she mentions about her um, that
Oh,
it was
I
anime.
tried watching Watamote.
Yeah.
No matter how I look at it, it's you guys' fault I'm not popular. It was incredible. Like it was really popular when the anime first came out. I couldn't get through the first episode. It
No,
was just too socially awkward for me.
it's pretty depressing as a show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for everybody, but yeah, no. Apparently she cites a character named Cheryl Nome from Macross Frontier as her inspiration for making music for anime,
Huh.
and apparently, she plays a singer by a character who's a singer named Rin in the anime Lost Song.
Okay.
So Yeah, it's a Netflix original. Looks like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway, so that's a bit of a tangent, but yeah, I just found that I just needed to find out who was involved in the singing of that song and of the opening credits because it sounded very familiar. Something I swear I heard before, and it might be the No Game No Life opening that I remember hearing her from.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, she had a very, very familiar, very strong voice. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. So, episode 2, they meet. He's kind of wandering around the school, and he ends up in the old school building. And he starts hearing a voice of someone who warned him. We don't know who that voice is, but he starts hearing the voice of somebody who warned him to stay away from the old school building. And if he does find himself there, if he comes across a mirror, do not turn around. Do not. I just spoiled it, but like he doesn't remember what it says. But
Yeah,
it ended up saying, "Don't turn around, otherwise the ghost will get you."
yeah.
And he does exactly that because he can't remember what the warning is. So he walks up to this. He finds this mirror. He realizes this is the mirror he was warned about, and he hears a voice saying "Nia-kun," and turns around, and that's when he sees the ghost. That's when he first meets Yuko.
Uh,
Um, this is
and
she's
so she starts following him around, and
mm-hmm,
then she tells him 3 different ways that she's a ghost, and he still doesn't believe her just yet.
mm-hmm.
Um, uh, then what happens? It's at that moment that she decides she wants to show him what the uniform she used to wear looks like. So she takes him to where she has it stored and then proceeds to change right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has absolutely no problem whatsoever with her own ghost form's physical nudity around him.
Well, and it's revealed later on that she's just so used to not having people around, or not
It's an
having not
episode.
people can't see her,
Yeah,
that when she changes, it doesn't bother her.
no. And it's just she was just so unaccustomed to seeing him embarrassed by her. Like, I, why are you turning away? I didn't ask you to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, it's at that moment that so she shows off her old school uniform, and it really suits her, and it's the same uniform she was wearing through all of episode 1, which is a different school uniform than everyone else is currently wearing. It's a darker, um, kind of reminds me a bit of the school uniform that uh, the main character in Kill la Kill wears before it transforms. It's kind of just a dark outfit with a red bow, a dark red bow. But not with the just it's the only other anime I've seen where it's a all dark uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them seem to be sailor colors, so borrowing from uh, Donald Duck and bright whites and blues is a very common school uniform colors in anime I've found. Um, but as she's changing and as she tells him a little bit more about herself, he remembers the rest. That's at that point that he remembers the rest of the poem, the rest of the warning of not to turn around, and
Mm-hmm.
that there's something in the mirror. And suddenly he gets a flash and realizes that maybe that some memory creeps into his head, and like she's stuck in 2 parts. Like the ghost that he's with is only part of her, and there's another part that's trapped somewhere and needs to be rescued. And so he gets into his head that the rest of her is trapped on the other side of the mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
so he goes back to the mirror where he first found her and smashes it with a club of some kind and reveals that there's a
It's a
staircase,
baseball bat he found.
the baseball bat. Okay. So he smashes it with a baseball bat and discovers there's stairs on the other side. And when he goes down the stairs, he sees the body.
Well, and she's telling him,
Sees the
"Don't go
corpse.
down there. Don't do it."
Yeah, don't please don't.
Mm-hmm.
And he ignores her. Well, he ignores her warning. He
Mm-hmm.
goes down and he sees a skeleton wearing a schoolgirl uniform, And
The same
then
uniform that
a
Yuka's wearing.
yeah, a much decayed version of it, but the same uniform. Um, and he looks back up the stairs, and then the figure of Yuko has changed, and there's it's a black silhouette, and her hair's kind of floating, and just a very menacing figure. Like, you saw it all.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
he's kind of like
immediately,
freaking
and
out because she's now appearing like a freaky
she's a
ghost,
black silhouette over a red door frame. It's
and she's got the glowing red
textbook
eye.
with a glowing red eye, and it's textbook. You know, this is he's about to get killed by this ghost when suddenly cut to, I'm so embarrassed. It's just adorably embarrassed by the
And
fact that he
she just
saw
breaks
her.
down, so sad.
Like,
And like,
she had no problem being naked, changing clothes in front of him, but
uh-huh.
her bones are the ultimate form of nudity.
Yep. And she's like, you've seen the deepest part of me now. And he's like, wait, what? Huh? What do you mean? You've seen bones. They're the deepest, they're the ultimate form of nakedness or deepest form of nudity. And she calls him a pervert. She says, etching, calling him a pervert.
It's at that point that she calls him a pervert, when he sees her bones.
But before then, there's a scene that I want to talk about on the roof, where she's saying,
Oh,
you
yes.
probably won't be able to see me for long. I mean, every time I've interacted with someone in the past, they've been able to see me for a little while, but then it's over, and they're never able to see me again. And a lot of times they don't even remember me. And she's been leading him around, and so she makes him put his head on her lap, as she's kneeling on the roof. And he's like, well, what can we do to make it to where I won't forget you? And she's like, well, how about we try this? And she kisses him on the forehead. And she's like, there, now I don't think you're ever going to be able to forget me. And he's like, are you teasing me? And she says, yep. Just immediately. And I thought that was really, really precious.
What was great is the sequence of events is like, she talks about she needs to do something to him, and then it's a close up of her lips puckering, and then it's a shot of her bending down over him, and then it's a shot of her kissing his forehead. It makes it look like she's going for the lips with the first two shots, and then, oh nope, just kidding.
But yeah, so they that's when they put up the board over that the mirror that he broke through. That's when they put up the board over it, and she's the one who puts it up. But anyways,
and then nails on the sign, do not open if you don't want to be cursed.
Yeah. Oh, if you open this, you will be cursed, type thing. Anyway, so
that's the first half of the second episode. The second half introduces Momoe and her problems.
And she comes in because she heard about the Paranormal Investigation Club that they start, and they start it because they realize this is going to be a good chance for them to learn more about her past. And she's like, well, I don't care. I don't remember anything. It doesn't seem important to me. But he's like, but no, I want to know more about you. And she's like, oh, okay. So,
which is apparently a way of flirting in Japan.
Is
wanting to know more about somebody is a way of is really important in terms of dating and flirting.
But anyways, they
so she starts
Momoe
this paranormal activity club, and Momoe comes in and tells them the story about what says, Yuko is gonna kill me, and Yuko's like, huh, what? And oh, what did they do? It was well, apparently she had done this sort of Bloody Mary style of hide and seek, where you take a plushie and you put the name of a deceased person on the plushie, and then you stab the plushie through the name, through the paper, through the name, and say something ritualistic, and then go and hide in a corner. And whoever can stay hidden in the corner the longest and not be killed by the ghost wins.
Well, it's what it is it's hide and seek is what they're playing. And what you need to do is, the first thing you do is, you like, And this school, it's not just someone who died at this school. Apparently, it has to be the name Yuko. That's how it works in this school.
Mm.
But they, so she puts the name Yuko on this little stuffed animal, and she counts to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, she says, "I found you," and stabs the doll. Then it's Yuko's turn. The ghost, the person, not the real Yuko, but the thing that they are calling Yuko, their idea of Yuko. They then have to hide, and the only way to end the game is to get to the doll before Yuko does, and say that the game's over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, she runs back to the doll because everybody else wimped out or something like that. They all just ran off. And the doll's gone. And so she's freaking out, thinking that Yuko's going to find her and kill her.
Yeah.
And this entire time, Yuko's just like, what?
Has no idea that this game has even developed over the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Completely oblivious to it. And so they devise a talisman. So in Japan, these talismans exist that are basically a piece of paper with special kanji written on them. That's supposed to be a ward of protection or something. I want to say it has something to do with the Shinto religion or something like that. I know that Sailor Mars used them a lot. I know they appeared a lot in Tenchi Muyo and a number of other anime that use talisman magic of some kind. They used it a whole bunch in the Twin Star Exorcists.
Yeah. So. But no. So they give her a talisman.
Mm-hmm.
And as she's walking through the halls, being like, okay, I have this. I have this. I'll be fine. We see the back of the talisman, and it's a receipt. It's a piece of random paper that they just found. And she says, wait, a handout, when she finally realizes what it is. But it looked like a receipt to me. But there's writing on the back of it.
So as she's walking through the halls and thinking she's safe, it cuts back to the room, and Yuko and Nia are talking about it, and says, "So is that an authentic talisman?" And Yuko's like, "I made it, so of course it's authentic." Like, that's not how authentic talismans work.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, they discover that Yuko found the plushie bunny with the razor blade through it, and then Yuko's name is like, "Well, I just found it and had my name on it, so I decided to keep it." And so she took it back with her to the
Mm-hmm. Well, it had my name on it. Yeah, so it's completely her fault that that Momoe is freaking out.
And so Nia comes up with a plan to use himself and Yuko to exercise this version of Yuko that Momoe believes in, and return the plushie to her so that she can stop the game and feel safe again. And so they do that. But it starts with Yuko. So it starts with Momoe tripping and realizing that she's not holding a talisman. She's holding a handout that somebody drew on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh no. And then she can just suddenly feel the presence of this demonic force behind her, and it's this pure
this
evil
scene is
force.
so good. This scene is so good.
And so Nia grabs Momoe's hand, and runs with her, and runs away from the demon. And it cuts to, so we're seeing both what Momoe thinks she sees, and then what's actually happening rapidly. And it's Yuko wearing what is that? She's got like some sort of piece of paper wound up to like a triangle forehead, like tiara.
I'm not an expert on it. But in Japanese folklore, whenever there's a ghost, they always have a
ghost?
white.
Is it a kabuki ghost?
Might be a kabuki ghost. I don't know, but they always have a white kimono on or a white robe on, and then a head wrap that has like a little triangle on it. And
Yeah,
from
so it's like a
Momoa's point of
bandana
view,
that's
it's
been
this.
tightly wrapped, so there's just a
Mhm.
little bit of the triangle, and the rest of it is a twist that goes around their head.
And from Momoa's point of view, um, there's this evil demonic creature just running down
It's
the
this
halls,
black
chasing after.
mass of floating hair like tentacles and
It's
dark energies like purples and reds and blacks.
And then from Nia's point of view, it's Yuka having the time of her life, being like, running in that outfit, chasing after them.
Yeah.
So, and she's saying creepy ghost things that aren't scary in the slightest. But yeah. Oh, man.
I just were thinking back because our basic concept of a ninja comes from kabuki theater, where the idea is you're not supposed to see when a ninja assassinates you. So they have these characters which are stagehands that they're all dressed in black, and you're not supposed to see them. They're just supposed to be this. Um, they bring in the furniture and then pull them out, and they're just the stagehands that do certain things. And sometimes, to indicate that a ninja assassinated somebody, one of those stagehands would come in and go ha, and then somebody would die, and the stagehand would leave. But that's where the idea of a ninja outfit came from, was a kabuki theater of people dressed all in black with a face concealing mask.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm just wondering if that's also where this tradition of where ghosts came
Could
from.
be. Could
So
be.
I'll have to look that up. I'll have to find that out because we've seen it before, and and they don't spend any time explaining it because it's their own culture. They don't have to explain it. It's already an inside joke for them in Japan. So I'll have to look into that some more. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just absolutely great cutting back and forth between this silly, like she's literally only wearing a white kimono and that thing on
Okay.
her head.
It's not kabuki theater. It is a traditional burial garment called a kyokata. It's a Buddhist robe that they dress people in when they die. So that's it. I don't know what the white piece of paper is. Oh no, my bad. My mistake. That's just traditional. That's a traditional Buddhist robe. It's the shinishozoku. Shinishozoku. Okay, so the shinishozoku is the costume for dying. And that's just the outfit that they put that Buddhist monks put people in for their funeral rites. It's that white robe and it's that fabric over the head. So in Japan, that very much has a connotation with death and dead people. So that's why we see it all the time in ghosts. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Cool. Wanted to go ahead and give some little factual information on that. So yay, we're now edutainment.
Yay!
I'm sorry, but anyways, so Nia then grabs her and pulls her around the corner. And Momoe's like, no, wait, what are you doing? Because he stands there, he's like, it's okay. I have a real one that will work. And he puts the talisman out. And again, we see this from two scenes. We see it from Momoe's point of view and what actually happens. And Momoe sees him slamming this talisman against this evil spirit, and this blinding flash of light
right into its heart.
Right to its heart. And this blinding flash of light just destroys this evil spirit. Whereas in actuality, he has once again accidentally grabbed Yuka's boob, to which she's squealing in delight. So she's just having so much fun with this.
Again, I honestly believe she positioned herself to be grabbed there. And then the talisman stuck right there on her. And it's at that point that she decides to reveal, and so she dissipates, and the bunny plushie with the razor blade in it appears, and Momoe thinks everything's been solved and finishes and saves herself, and then decides to join their club.
Yeah.
And that's episode 2.
That's episode 2. So yeah.
episode 3 was really well. So episodes 1 and 2 had a lot of really great individual moments, and they were easy to piece out. Like, and then this was great, and then this was great, and then this was great. Episode 3 was really great as a solid piece. I couldn't really pick out a whole bunch of little things from it like I could with episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 as a whole is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was the introduction of Kyrie and her character and what's going on with her. The episode, I'm pretty sure, pretty early on in the episode, what starts off is, okay, so it's late at night, and Yuko is trying to flirt with Nia. But Nia's like, it's getting late, and Yuko's like, well, that's where it's the most romantic. And there's something wrong with her because, well, the lighting is all based on the sunset. She's not her usual pale-skinned self. She actually looks like a being made out of dirt clods or dried dirt, is what seems to be happening. And what we're seeing is, what we end up realizing is we're seeing her from someone else's perspective. They're being watched, and someone has a perspective that this person is literally dirt, is literally a monster that's less than dirt or something like that. And so what happens a little bit later, so it's the next morning, and Yuko is still flirting with Nia as he's trying to put his shoes away, when he realizes that there's a love letter or something put in his shoe locker. And the last thing he wants is to deal with the situation where Yuko sees him receiving a love letter from someone else.
When Yuko comes up to him and she's so excited because it's summer. She's now wearing her summer uniform. She's like, how do I look? Don't I look cute? And he's like, yeah, sorry, I have to go. And she's like, wait, what? Just like completely taken back by it. So Yuko and Momoe are in the club room, and Momoe is doing her thing, and Yuko's just like, hey, where do you think he is? Trying to talk to her. And she, of course, Momoe can't hear her, so it's kind of a sad scene. And they get to so he then
so he opens up the love letter to see who it's from. And it just says, meet me at the designated place. I need to talk to you about the girl who's behind you.
And he's like, oh, crap. So he then goes and, episode 1, we forgot to mention that, or is it episode 2? I don't remember, but in one of the episodes, they go to a grave.
They do go to a grave.
They go to a grave, and it's the grave. It's close to the school. I think this is episode 1. That's right. It's episode 1. Because they go to a grave, and the behind the school, like in the forest behind the school, and on that, it's like a little marker with the name Yuko on it. And I should probably point out that the kanjis for Yuko are evening and child. So the anime is called Dusk, Maiden of Amnesia. So her name literally means Dusk Child or Dusk Maiden. So I thought that was really, really cool. But anyways, so Momoe sees this grave, and she thinks it's so cool of that there's this grave here, and it's probably the girls who died at the school is probably buried here. And he's just like, wait, no, that can't be right, because we know that the girl's body is in the school. And she's like, oh yeah, that's right. To which Yuko's just like, bah, and just kicks the grave over. So, which freaks out Momoe. And
because it just tips over all on its own. This place is cursed. I'm going to be cursed.
Anyways, yeah. So the reason I brought that up is because, and then she runs off and Kirie runs off after her. The reason I brought that up is because they end up at the tree that has Yuko's grave at it. But this is kind of before that scene happened. So anyways, he meets this girl there, and how about we go in and say what happens.
Okay, so Kyrie um, introduces herself and establishes that she knows about Yuko. She knows that Yuko has latched on to um, Nia, and Yuko is, but she says that Yuko is a bad spirit, and that the people who get latched onto her, that she latches onto, disappear and meet bad ends. And so, and she, Kyrie, is actually the granddaughter of Yuko's little sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are related by blood. Um, and so she feels it's kind of her responsibility as well to exorcise Yuko and have her spirit move on and stop. It's a family thing that she has to get them to stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, well, okay. So after that scene, there, and so that scene happens parallel to Yuko and Momoe being basically alone together in the club room because they can't
Mm-hmm.
interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that. Following which, there's a scene in a. Oh, okay. I think doesn't it start raining or something? And Momoe comes out. No, and Yuko comes out to talk to Nia in the rain, and she starts sneezing as if she has a cold.
Mm-hmm.
The ghost got a cold.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of this creepy scene because this girl just said that that is an evil spirit. You need to stay away from it, type thing. And then we see after she leaves, Nia hears Yuko say his voice in kind of a creepy way,
Ah,
and he gets scared. And he turns around and he sees her, and he kind of sees her in the shadows, and her eyes glowing red again, and things like that. And he's getting a little bit nervous. And then she steps forward and sneezes. She's like, oh, "I'm gonna get a cold." So
yes.
a good
And
way
so
to
they take
dispel tension.
and so they take her to the nurse's office where she once again changes clothes. And it's a bit of an embarrassing scene for him. But the scene proceeds along the lines of, so what do you see when you look at me? Like, what? Different people can see different things when they look at me. What do you see? And
Mm-hmm.
he then proceeds to describe her body the way she sees herself.
Mm-hmm.
Fair skin, a thin frame,
And white,
narrow eyes, white
mm-hmm.
skin,
Long black
dark,
hair.
long black hair. He just describes her beauty to her, and she then, while only clad in a towel at this point, she does embrace him on top of a nurse's station bed, and there's a kind of spider web, broken, shattered glass effect overlaid over them. This is a really interesting thing, and she confesses to him, saying, "Thank you so much. I've never. I'm so glad that you see me the way I look at what you see, what I see when I look in the mirror."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then then it's revealed what and that's when Kyrie shows up and sees the two of them together, and she says, "Didn't I warn you to stay away from her?
Uh-huh.
She's bad for you." And then proceeds to tell him what she sees, and the power of suggestion of just how what she says she sees injects itself into his mind so he sees it too. And suddenly he only sees this girl with skin the color of dirt, oozing blood, and her face twisted in a permanent hatred. And so Yuko tries to reach out to him, but now she's dripping blood, crying blood out of her eyes and dripping it on the ground and around her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so uh, during this episode is really harsh. It's really deep. It's but that Nia runs away with Kyrie away from Yuko now that he sees what Kyrie sees.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and so she's explained, like, they end up outside of the school, in kind of one of those overpasses they have between buildings in Japanese schools, or I guess a covered walkway, I guess is a better way of saying it, not really an overpass. But it's raining still, and she's explaining to him that she's an evil spirit, that he needs to stay away from her. And they then see Yuko approaching them in what's, I think it's referred to as her corpse form, which is just this decaying skin, glowing red eyes, tangled black mess of hair, black ooze falling from her. And she's just saying Nia the entire time. And they end up in the room because Nia lets Kyrie know that where her body is, and she says, "If I can go ahead and get to that body, then I can probably get rid of her." And so they go to the room, and she rips down the boarding that Yuko put up, and right before she's able to go in, though, Yuko shows up again, and that freaks out Kyrie. She then bolts down the stairs into the darkness below. And Yuko, however, is talking to Nia, and Nia's just, she's like, "Hey, tell me what you see." And he can't describe it. And she's like, "Oh, okay, so that's how it is. Well, it was fun while it lasted. You probably can't even hear me anymore. But I want you to know that I had a lot of fun with my time with you."
Yeah, she's letting him go, which is not something a monster that would try to drag him down would ever do.
Mm-hmm. And he also, while she's talking, he also picks up the sign that she put on the doors, warning people to stay out, otherwise they'll be cursed. And she's like, a monster wouldn't warn people to stay away.
Yeah.
And he kind of thinks that to himself. And so as she's walking off, saying goodbye, he grabs her in her decrepit form, and he says, "What I see is a tall young woman with long, beautiful black hair, white, soft skin, and is tall," and just talking about her, how he sees her. And because he describes that to her, he then starts seeing her as that again.
Yes.
And she gets super happy, and he's like, "But we need to go down there, or I need to go down there and make sure she's okay." And she's like, "But my corpse is down there." And he's like, "I know." She's like, "But my corpse is down there. I don't want you to see." And she starts getting super embarrassed again, even though he literally is seeing her naked right now, and she doesn't care about that.
She's literally naked right now, and it's
with hair falling all over the proper places and things like that to keep it modest.
It's doing a what is it? A bit of a Venus de Milo censorship.
Yeah, something like that.
Sort of effect.
But she excuse me. Anyways, she's finally like, "Okay, fine, go." But no, my heart isn't ready yet. No, it's like, I have to go down there. She's like, "Okay, fine, go." "Are you gonna be okay?" Stop teasing me and just go." And so he goes down, and
she falls over with a thud. Like, the ghost. Thud.
But anyways, he goes down the stairs, and he finds Kyrie crying. And she's kind of cursing herself for having left him behind.
Yeah.
And he, with his flashlight, they're able to see her body, and they see that her leg was broken. And they assume that it was an accident, and no one was able to find her because of her broken leg, because this was an unused basement. I kind of get the feeling that there was more at play here.
They show that there's more inside the basement that we didn't even see the first time.
Well, I got the vibe there was more going on there than before we see what happens next. And after they see the broken leg, he then notices further on down that there's a shrine with a bunch of sealing talismans on it.
Yeah.
And that's when Kitty is like, maybe Yuko's not the evil spirit. Maybe it's someone else. And then they go back up, and Kyrie apologizes and then runs off. The next day at the student council meeting, or not the student council meeting, the club meeting,
the paranormal activity club meeting.
Kyrie shows up and joins. And she's like, "This isn't me accepting you, but I think we need to get to the bottom of what's going on at the school," type thing. And at the end of this episode, we see the out as kind of I think it's Nia. He has he comes to the realization that there's an evil spirit in this school, and we have to figure out something about it. We see the evil spirit watching him from the shadows.
Yeah, we do.
So
and that's how episode 3 ends. And so I'm gonna keep watching this thing.
Yeah, me too. Holy crap, this was great. It had a lot of just laugh out loud moments. Laugh out loud moments. It's kind of creepy, kind of fun. I really liked the first 3 episodes. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Kind of an emotional roller coaster. They really did play on the fact that they could have humor and silliness and sexiness and scares and drama and just intense situations all jumbled up together into this beautiful mix of work. I can't wait to finish it.
Oh, same here. I think it's going to be great. All right, well, that's it for Dusk, Maiden of Amnesia. If you guys are interested in watching it, go ahead and check it out. Anyways, what's our pick for next week? And next week's going to be the last week of October for us, so the last Halloween episode.
Yeah, so we're going to record this the day before Halloween and then drop it the day after. So that's going to be how this works. But, okay, so Studio Clamp, when they produced Tsubasa, the manga series that I keep gushing about, they also produced a manga series called Holic, which actually takes place parallel to each other. There are moments in both manga series that they end up talking to each other across dimensions. And it's actually one of the main characters of Holic is the dimensional witch Yuko, who sends Shaoran, Sakura, Kirigane, Phi, and Mokuna on their parallel world adventures. She's the catalyst who sends them off on doing what they're going to do in Tsubasa. And so while that's happening, there's actually a paranormal ghosts and horror folklore story anime manga called Holic that's happening at the same time. Like that, I actually have some of the manga. It's there's an episode where a monkey's paw, where this girl keeps making wishes, and every time she makes a wish, a finger on the monkey paw breaks, but the wish is somehow corrupted, and everyone thinks that they're going to be the one to master the monkey's paw. They're going to be the one to outsmart it, but they never are. It's like, I wish that my paper had the best grade. Congratulations, your paper is a direct plagiarism of the one that got the best grade. And then I wish people forgot about this. Suddenly, no one remembers you ever existed. And then, once all the fingers breaks, the claw, the monkey's paw, attacks and chokes the life out of her.
Is that's in Triple X Holic?
That's one of the chapters in the Triple X Holic manga, and I can't remember which one that's in.
Okay.
But we're going to be watching the anime, which is 24 episodes available on Funimation and Hulu. And here's the synopsis as it reads from the Funimation website. Watanuki's been haunted by dark spirits his entire life. His incessant demons drag him to the ornate door of the dimensional witch Yuko, a mysterious woman of insight and luxury who is quick to help those in a bind for a fee. One might very well end up paying with their soul. To be free of his visions, Watanuki will work in her strange shop of dreams and wishes. So,
okay,
we're going to go ahead and watch that next week. I've read much of the manga, but I've never seen the anime, and I want to see what they did with it. But this is Studio Clamp, the same studio that made Cardcaptor Sakura, Chobits. There's a vampire series called X that they did. Angelic Lair, Magic Knight Ray Earth, a whole slew of things. So same studio.
Okay. Well, cool. All right. So that's it for 3 episodes in. Let's go ahead and move on to recommendation of the week. And it's my pick this week. And looky here what I have on my phone.
You have a cookie clicker app on your phone.
This is official cookie clicker. That's me clicking the cookies. This is official. I have a cookie clicker game running almost all the time on my main computer. But yeah, I saw that they have excuse me. I saw that on that page there was a link that said try cookie clicker for Android, not yet available for iOS. So I decided to go ahead and install it and give it a try. And sure enough, it's cookie clicker. And it still runs while the game's closed. So hopefully that's not going to be a battery drain.
Generally speaking, it just keeps track of how much time has passed.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. But anyway, yeah, this is Cookie Clicker, completely free, that with ads, whatnot. But if you like Cookie Clicker, it was kind of a craze, about 5-6 years ago. It's still going strong, still getting updates. Give it a try.
Okay.
I mean, sure, why not?
A lot of copycats out there too. I mean, some years ago, I ended up with a dragon version of Cookie Clicker.
Yeah, I was playing that as well, and I got bored with it. So it just wasn't as satisfying as Cookie Clicker. All right. So that's it for recommendation of the week. It's now your turn for our creator shout out.
All right. So this past weekend, Andrew and I both went up to Anime Bonsai. And while we were there, we took some time to check out the artist alley while we were up there.
For those of you who don't know, Anime Bonsai is a anime convention here in Utah.
Yes. And they're coming up on their 20th anniversary pretty soon. So they've been going strong for a while. But yeah, so I managed to pick up business cards for many of the artists over there, and I hope to give each one of them a shout out when their time comes. And the first one this week, we're going to give a shout out to Sophia Manio, who has a Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr page, as well as her own account. I swear I've seen her work before. Like, I've seen some of her artwork shared on anime groups and the like. In fact, if this might be exact. Actually, this is the one artist I bought something from Anime Bonsai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she has this. I'm looking through her Instagram feed to see if she has a picture of it, but no, this is the one person I bought something from this year from Bonsai, and she had a it was a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse collage that had it was a single shot of a subway train that had all 7 of the Spider-Man characters in Into the Spider-Verse. They had the Gray Spider, they had Penny Parker, Gwen Stacy, Miles Morales, Peter Parker, B. Am I forgetting anyone? Oh yeah, Harry Porker. Or
Spider Pig?
Yeah, Peter Porker, Spider Pig, Spider Ham. Yeah, I remember because yeah, she has this. She also had this collage of street clothes versions of the Sailor Scouts. Pretty and I was tempted by that one, but when I saw the Into the Spider-Verse group, I absolutely had to get that for my oldest. She adores that show. That movie. So yeah. So she goes by Sophia Cam on Instagram and Twitter. So Find her and give her a follow. And yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember seeing her. All right. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, think that about it for another episode, huh?
That's it.
That's about it. I can
Yes, it is.
speak. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening in this week or watching if you watched on YouTube. And if you did watch on YouTube, please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. And make sure you click the notification bell so you're alerted whenever new videos come out. If you like what we do and want to support us, please share our channel with your friends. Where can they find us on social media?
Our site, whittakerweekly.com, currently has the links to our Facebook page, Twitter account, and YouTube channel. We encourage all our listeners to follow us on the social media platform of their preference, and if there's one we're not on yet, please reach out to us on one of the ones we've mentioned, and we'll broaden our scope to include you.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening to another episode, guys. I want to give a shout out to Ben Coombs, who gave us who provided the artwork for us.
And another shout out to Razmataz and their song Dreikolk, which we used to open and close our podcast with.
All right. Well, I've been Andrew.
I've been Lee.
And this has been Whittaker Weekly. You guys have a great week.